KUGAN CASSIUS here with Frank Warren. Frank, first of all, great news that Terry Flanagan will get his shot at the world title at home to Jose Zepeda. Brilliant news for Flanagan.
Yeah, it is. We worked very hard with Top Rank to come to an agreement, and we have. So that fight's going to take place late June. We're going to announce the date this week. We worked very hard to get him home advantage. A tough fight for Terry. Zepeda's he's got a bit of a formidable record, but I believe Terry in front of his home fans has a great chance of becoming a champion.
Zepeda hasn't campaigned at lightweight for the majority of his career, so how are you looking at that?
Well, I'm hoping he's going to struggle. Obviously, that's that goes without saying. But his camp believe he makes the weight, and they've convinced everybody. So that's why the guys is the mandatory along with Terry. So they're fighting for the vacant title.
A lot of the other lightweights, obviously in position to, or in line, shall I say, for world titles. Can you see unification fights between, the likes of Anthony Crollers fighting for world title, even Kevin Mitchell? Can you see them possibly in the future, Frank?
Well, it'd make a lot of sense, wouldn't it? Because there's nothing better than an all-British dust-up. Nothing better than seeing the two Brits go at it. And if there's a world title on the line, it adds a bit more spice to it. So I haven't got any problem with those fights. No problem with those at all. But first of all, Terry's got to win, as have the other guys.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, speaking to you, the Saunders-Eubank saga seems to be dead in the water now, Frank.
Yeah, it's gone on too long now. Billy Joe Saunders has had enough, and quite honestly, I have as well. Even if we could agree, now is a problem in trying to get the venue sorted out, because obviously they've gone on in a soccer stadium. We're looking at West Ham, and to get it on there, you have to make application to the local authorities to put an event on, and that takes a period of time, and we basically have run out of time. And it's a shame it hasn't, that we couldn't get it together. But unfortunately, Bill made his position very clear from the beginning. He was willing to give the rematch based upon certain terms and conditions, and one of those terms were that it would have to be for the WBO, because he didn't want to jeopardise his position as being a mandatory challenger to Andy Lee for the fight, providing he beat Eubanks Jr. again in September. So he wasn't prepared to do that, and I quite agree with him. So therefore, that we couldn't get it on, as the Chris Eubanks Senior was insistent that that he would not vacate the WBA title.
So, that aside, the belt situation, the WBA, WBO mandatory slot, were there any other stumbling blocks that were holding this fight up from happening?
There were lots, but we ironed them out, and that became the last thing. But it was a straw that broke the old camel's back, as they say. So
it's completely dismissed for the summer now, Frank?
It's dismissed. We can't get it on. We haven't got the time to get it on, and not for the sort of purses that were being guaranteed. And as I say, we've all wasted a tremendous amount of time on this. It's a shame.
Certainly is. A lot of good fights coming up on BoxNation. We saw Gennady Golovkin, 20th straight KO or TKO win for Golovkin over Willie Monroe Jr. But the action is coming thick and fast. You've got Amir Khan's fight with Chris Algieri, which is on BoxNation on the 29th of May. Cotto Gill, plenty to look forward to, Frank.
Yeah, we've got lots of international fights. We've got the Amateur World Series as well, which is I think it's the semi-finals coming up over it. You've got the list of dates there. We've also got Orville McKenzie fighting Ola Alafalabi, which is going to take place in July. That's a cracking little fight, so we're looking forward to that one. We've got Liam Walsh, Troy James is made. Jack Cattrall's going to be fighting on that card as well. And then we've got Billy Joe Saunders who'll be having a warm-up fight before he challenges Andy Lee for the title in September. Rematch Frank Buglioni and Lee Markham. We're just sorting the date out for that. Mitchell Smith we're going to have out again, Louis Petit. All of our guys, and be fighting soon. On the 4th of July, we're in Dublin. We've got Jamie Conlon fighting on the card for the vacant WBO Super Flyweight Championship. And Tommy Langford will be fighting for the WBO Intercontinental Light Middleweight title. So lots of things happening.
We've also got the heavyweight fight between Povetkin and Perez, which is on the 22nd of May, which is this Friday, actually.
That's right, and two big lumps in there together, so be interested to see how that fight comes out and how it pans out and where it leaves one of them in the current standings for fighting one of the guys down the road.
So just going back to obviously Billy Joe, you said he'll more likely have a warm-up fight ahead of the potential fight with Andy Lee. When do you see the Andy Lee fight happening, Frank?
Early September. Yeah. Would the WBO want that? We want it, and I know that Andy Lee wants it, so we're going to get that on, and that'll be on, as I say, hopefully the first week of September.
Any ideas of where that fight will take place?
Well, that's going to be, that we're going to work out and iron out within the next couple of weeks. It'll either be Ireland or the UK, and we've got to sort that one out, and we are working on that now.
Are we likely to see Klitschko Fury in the same month?
I don't know whether it'll be on in the same month. Hopefully it will. At the moment we're still talking. There's talk of it going to purse bids, but whatever happens, it's being ordered. And I think we've got a window now, probably the next 14 days, to either agree terms or go to purse bids.
And as it currently stands, are you confident or not confident of not letting it go to purse bids?
Well, we haven't got the majority of the purse to play with. It goes to purse bids. That's with the Klitschkos. But if we do go to purse bids, we've done our numbers, and we're willing to. It's not just about the numbers balancing, the books balancing. It's also about do we fancy our guy to win the fight? And I fancy him. I think he's got a good chance of winning the title. So, you make your investment, and hopefully, if he does win, if we can't agree terms, that is, if he does win, then we benefit down the line. And, if he becomes champion, because there's no options being given or anything. He's, whoever wins the fight goes their own way.
Have you had any indication from the Klitschko camp that Vladimir would be willing to come here to fight?
I think he said that himself, hasn't he? I mean, he said that, and that's what, obviously with our negotiations, that's one of the things we've been discussing. Of course, we'd like to get the fight here. It makes more sense to do it here. I think Klitschko and Fury in the UK is a big fight. I think it's a bigger fight here than it is in Germany or anywhere else for that matter.
Just going back to obviously the Chris Eubank, Billy Joe Saunders situation. Chris Eubank's the WBA interim title holder. Danny Jacobs holds the regular title. Golovkin holds the super title. As much for head, whatever that is. But is that the route that they want to go down, the Eubanks?
They say they do. I mean, Chris has made it very clear he wants to fight Golovkin. I think that's much too soon, but what do I know? The end of the day, he will fight in July. We was trying to get him out in June, but that time's run away from us again. All this messing around, so July will be the date he'll be out. It won't be against Golovkin, that's for sure. But
has this whole situation with the Saunders-Eubank, the fact that it's not happening this summer, has it left any sort of bad blood between yourself and the Eubanks, or is everything on a level pegging?
Look, for me, it's just irritating and it's stupid because there's no sense to it. 1 minute there was talk of vacating the WBA title to fight for the British title, which I talked them out of. But then when you want them to push the WBA, park that one up to get this big fight on, that become a real point and it become a real issue for them. I don't agree with them, but we are where we are. And I can't keep it. We've expanded so much energy and time on this. It's become boring, and it's become ridiculous. I mean, it gets to really having arguments every day about something that's, ridiculous. If you want a rematch, remember he lost the fight. Billy Joe Saunders won it. These are the terms. The money's not the problem. We've agreed that. The rest of these are the terms. So how bad do you want the rematch? Do you want that or not? Don't say you want it. If you want it, you'll do anything for it. I know if it's the other way round. I know what Billy Joe's like. He'll be saying, I'll fight him for nothing. But we are where we are.
In hindsight, do you regret that not letting or coming to some sort of thing where Billy Joe had already fought for the world title? Because he had a few opportunities where he's passed on because there was the Eubank thing in mind, obviously.
Well, I think you've got to look at financially where we were. Andy Lee wouldn't have got the shot at the world title, would he? He'd been fighting the Russian, who was the champion at the time. you know, things happen, and they happen for a reason. We got a great fight on the out of last November with Bill and Chris Jr. That was a cracking fight for the fans. We thought it set another one up, but it's not to be at the moment. No, I don't regret anything. Probably if I regret anything, it's probably getting them to fight with Shudanov, because I've got to tell you something, they didn't even know who Shudanov was. You know, I picked the opponent, did it. You know, he's obviously, you know, don't take anything away from Chris Eubank Jr. He's put a lot of hard work and time and dedication into his career, and he is where he's at. But, you know, like everything, there's involvement from other people who make these things work.
All right, Frank. Well, listen, you know, we wait news. Obviously, there's still big stuff coming up, and hopefully it gets bigger for the year.
We got our fighters in some good positions, in some good fights. You know, I'm trying to get Liam Smith sorted out. You know, we're very close to getting him a world title fight. So we're working on a few things. I just want to get them all moving. They're all at that stage now where they've got to be stepping up to the plate and, you know, bringing home the bacon. That's really where we're at now. All these guys, you know, Terry Flanagan, Tyson Fury, they're all there on the cusp of doing something, and that's really what this has been about the last few years in the investment and the time put into these guys.
And we anticipate the return of Paul Butler as well in the summer.
Of course, Paul's. You know, I can't wait for him to get back into action. He'll be fighting in June, and we're looking forward to that. Unfortunately, we couldn't get a title fight for him in Britain because there's no British fighter there for him to fight. But let him get a quick win under his belt, and then we can get him out in a meaningful fight in the future.
Just finally, any update on Derek Chisora's situation at the moment? I've
seen Derek. He's training with a new trainer, and at the moment we're talking about when he will be fighting again, and just wait for it to come back to us to let us know when he's ready.
All right, Frank. Thanks for talking to the Cassius and Helder show.